Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read you a really interesting article from Politico. Justice Department tells California to reopen churches. Now, this is really interesting. This is May 19, 2020. The U.S. Department of Justice warned Governor Gavin Newsom on Tuesday that California must do more to accommodate in-person religious gatherings. A letter from federal attorneys pointed to civil rights concerns around California's stay-at-home order, which since March has prohibited the faithful from assembling at houses of worship. The Department of Justice noted that religious services are barred even as sectors of the economy deemed essential have been allowed to remain open. So you have places throughout the country where liquor stores are open, but churches are not. Synagogues are not. Mosques are not. So the question is why? And furthermore, why can't you decide as a human being in American society to either leave your house or to stay home? If you believe it is safer for you to stay home, then stay home. Nobody is going to make you go out. But to have a blanket, this kind of draconian, irrational, non-scientific, there's no science that says everyone must stay home. Cuomo was even talking about if you're going to base stay-at-home orders on science, I want to know the mortality rate, because according to Dr. Scott Atlas in the Hill, the Stanford study points to a 0.1 to 0.2 mortality rate. Okay, a 0.1 to 0.2 mortality rate. That is around the average flu. That's around the average flu. Okay. So let's see here. So I want to know what's the mortality rate? What is the mortality? I want to know. I want to know what the mortality rate is. Because they kept saying, oh my God, millions upon millions will lose their lives. Like, well, let's see. Mortality rate of average flu. Let's see here. Trying to find it. What are these stay-at-home orders based upon? They keep saying science, but when you ask about see, the flu's around. It's right around. When you ask about at 0.1% rate is frequently cited among experts, including Dr. Anthony Fauci. So Dr. Fauci has stated the average flu is a 0.1% mortality rate. The Stanford study, according to an article by Scott Atlas, the data is in Stop the Panic. You can look. And right here, this is by Dr. Scott Atlas. The data is in Stop the Panic and the Total Isolation. The Stanford University antibody study now estimates that the fatality rate, if infected, is likely 1.2 to 0.2%, a risk far lower than the previous World Health Organization estimates that were 20 to 30 times higher and that motivated isolation policies. So, I don't understand. They say, well, all of this is based on science. If you have a mortality rate of 0.1%, you have over a 99% chance of surviving it. where is the science that says everyone needs to go bankrupt, go without work? Surgeries now, cancer patients have had their surgeries postponed. So, it's pretty unbelievable. It's pretty unbelievable. And they're saying, well, you need to stay home, but the mortality rate is 0.1 to 0.2%. And even if it was 0.5%, Cuomo stated in New York it was 0.5%. So I don't understand why, Aussie J, because leftists want you to believe. Be slave. Thank you, Aussie J. Thank you to my super chat. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't understand. I don't get this. This is not the first time that we had over 700,000 people hospitalized in 2015. We had 56,000 Americans lose their lives. In 2015, we have a greater population, and this bug is obviously more severe. But to shut down American society, and so the Justice Department said, this facially discriminates against religious exercise. The letter says, quote, California has not shown why interactions in offices and studios of the entertainment industry and in-person operations to facilitate non-essential e-commerce are included on list as being allowed with social distancing where telework is not practical. While gathering with social distancing for purposes of religious worship are forbidden, regardless of whether remote worship is practical or not. The answer is obvious. Because the wonderful liberals and the wonderful Democrats that run California don't really care about religious activities, but they do care about the entertainment industry. And there you go. So, Newsom's framework for incrementally reopen. Then this incremental reopening. If you ban alcohol for 10 years and then you allow alcohol, people will still unfortunately lose their lives in drunk driving accidents and from cirrhosis. You cannot save people from themselves, and you cannot implement draconian. You can't say, well, these unconstitutional, because that's what they are. You cannot say this is based on science when the mortality rate based on when not just confirmed cases. The Stanford study says there's 22 to 55 times the number of people who have this. Exactly. Aussie J, ban cars and cigarettes. The rate is much higher than 0.1% for those. Exactly. The recent Stanford University antibody study. So it's just really unbelievable. If you look at the Stanford study, let's look at here. There's a whole bunch of information that talk about the projections were all wrong. We're all wrong. There's some great information here. Hold on one second. So, here, we can use our prevalence estimate and the infection rate in Santa Clara County as of April 10, 2020. Okay, with an average increase of 6%. If our estimates represent total, we project lives lost. Okay, 100 lives lost out of 48,000 to 81,000 infections corresponds to an infection fatality rate of 0.1 to 0.2%. This is the Stanford antibody study. So I don't understand what's going on, other than you have Democratic politicians who don't want to listen to anything that circumvents their notion of what science is. And notice any medical doctor that disagrees with what's being publicized by people who are being interviewed. So they only interview certain experts, but other doctors they don't interview. And they say if antibodies take longer than 3 days to appear, if the average duration for case identification to lives lost is less than 3 weeks, or if the epidemic wave has peaked and growth in lives lost is less than 6% daily, then the infection fatality rate would be lower. And the curve is already flattened. So it's just like, they say science, it's science-based. No, it's not. There's a doctor utilizing the data isn't stop the panic and end the total isolation. This is the most absurd way to deal with the crisis. That's the nature of this is so political, and we know this already. We know why this is taking place. It's pretty unbelievable. It's pretty unbelievable when you get information. There's always whenever you find information that media doesn't want to publicize, hardly anyone asks the question, what are your chances of surviving? Does this warrant staying home? You have a 99% chance of surviving this if you're healthy and you don't have underlying issues. That's according to Stanford. And if you don't want to go out, you don't have to. See, this is the thing. Instead of simply saying, okay, we're going to look at the Stanford study, right there, Stanford study, antibody study in Santa Clara, California. Seroprevalence in Santa Clara, California. So, 58 to 85-fold larger. So the number of people who have some form of this is exponentially greater than the confirmed cases. But again, it's like this is what this is interesting because if nobody asks the obvious questions, if God forbid infected, what are your chances of survival? They don't ask the obvious questions. What is the mortality rate? They don't ask the obvious questions. Why have revisions been revised? Why have projections been revised downwards? And if so, if these projections are revised downwards, if the mortality rate continues to plummet, it's why have you completely tanked American society? RCJ! Attempts want to wipe out the middle class wealth. Well, I think there's the issue of just making things so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. And then you get this incremental opening, like the mortality rate is already around where it was when President Obama was dealing with this in 2015. There were no incremental reopenings, nor were there any shutdowns. So why now? Newsom's framework for incrementally reopening California economy would allow religious services to resume after forms of commerce like manufacturing, which the federal government called an example of unequal treatment of faith communities. Newsom said this week that the state could greenlight in-person worship in the coming weeks as infection, testing, and hospital numbers improve. But they never did this with more people have lost their lives from the regular flu, according to the CDC, than this. From 2014 to 2017, you could look at the CDC stats of all the ways people lost their lives. California's halt on religious services has already prompted legal battles and defiant stands from faith leaders. If Democrats think they're doing this, this is why Clinton is going to become nominee, and she will lose to Trump. But if they think that they're going to defeat Trump based on a horrible economy, this has completely and utterly backfired. This has completely and utterly backfired on Democrats. Completely and utterly. Completely and utterly. The average American knows exactly who is pushing for these policies. Let's look at here. Let's see. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just think that if you look at what's taking place, there is just no way that the average American, you look at polls. President Trump is still up in polls. Still up. He's at 49%. 49% in the polls. Aussie J! Words, magician, and politicians are no coinky dink. That's true. That's true. That's true, Aussie J. That's true. The politics behind this is so transparent. We know who wants to open up the economy. We know who's pretending to care about people's lives. The problem is you have enough Americans who think that they're going to spontaneously combust if they leave the house. Then I don't understand the people. I'm not saying that people shouldn't. I don't understand the people who run or ride their bike with a mask. How do you breathe? How healthy is that? I don't know if that's healthy. You're not getting the oxygen intake you need, or I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to breathe in those masks. And yes, wear masks, do whatever they tell you, okay? But in society, like in normal life, I don't sniff people's rear ends like a Boston Terrier or a Golden Retriever. So, like, I always engage in social distancing. I've always engaged in social distancing. Who doesn't? Who doesn't engage in social distancing? Normally. Jimbo! 20 people macking pub here. Yeah! Yeah! Love it! Must provide name and mobile number, yet you go to Costco and it's crazy free for all. Exactly. Jimbo! Nice. Say hello to the pub. I am just so honored that a pub in Australia. Where in Australia is your pub? I'm just so honored that a pub in Australia, one of these days, I'm going to buy you a drink, Jimbo, and I'm going to buy everyone there a drink because of just your wonderful support of this channel. Thank you, Jimbo, and everybody at the pub. Thank you, Jimbo. Super political primate. Thanks. Now I can sniff that hair. Here you go. Super political primate. That's a great name right there. So you have to. So the mobile number. Why don't they just because Jimbo and super political primate. Thank you. They could just go ahead, and if you have, but who goes to the pub or who goes to a bar with a fever? Have you ever gone to a pub with people like, can I have a martini? I just have this flu. Yeah, just a martini with vodka. And, a martini, yeah, vodka, yeah, just make it dirty. Who does that? Have you ever gone to a bar? Hey, you want a death? No. Super political primate. Thank you. What is that, Pantene Pro V? Super political primate, thank you. Society has taken a break from any sense of logic. Harmeet Dillon, the conservative attorney who spearheaded legal challenges to California's halt on church services, said in an interview that the federal government vindicated her argument that Newsom had overreached. It's very true. Literally, this country was founded on the concept that the king cannot tell the peasants how they may worship. This is very true, Dillon said in an interview. Governor Newsom may not tell people of the faith they can only worship in their homes. You know, they keep pushing Democrats. I'm not saying they're going to lose California. I'm not saying you're going to have a Republican governor or Republican mayor of the city, although we had a Republican mayor of the city 10 years ago. But they are riding high on a whole bunch of stupidity. And it's not, the average American knows that politicians don't care about their well-being. Even the Democrats. Democrats, though, deep in their subconscious, they're like, this hurts Trump, yeah. You have a 0.1 to 0.2% mortality rate. I know. Aussie J. Sorry. Aussie J. I know. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526. Nobody goes to the club like that. Nobody goes, hey, can I buy you a drink? Here's a new concept. It's a new concept that Democrats have never heard of. If you're sick, don't leave the house. How's that? But it could be asymptomatic. Anyone could have it. It could be asymptomatic. You could be fine. And then 10 people spontaneously combust. You don't want that. Shut everything down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Economy, life. Shut it down, baby. Shut it down. It's science. Shut it down. Shut it down. It's just for your protection. Aussie J, go to bed. Leave me, Eric, in the Wow. You're going to put up that stuff that Bill Clinton likes, aren't you? Wow. Aussie J. I hope nobody confuses my every 3 seconds of yawning to be Wow. Let's see here. Well, what am I even doing? What was I doing? I forgot what I was even doing. You have this nonsense, this complete and utter nonsense. Aussie J, thank you. Aria Lee! Smallpox is more contagious and America wasn't shut down. Or the world. Why are they doing this now? Exactly. Aria Lee, exactly. Senior Talupin, hello. Aria Lee, exactly. Thank you for always watching, Aria. No, who knows? But one thing that's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that's really interesting is that nobody asks what the survival rate is or the fatality rate, which is the same, which is two sides of the same coin. Half empty, half full. But they don't want to ask those questions. Then they're like, oh, magnets, huh? I guess you don't believe the magnets work. You think it's some supernatural thing. You want millions to perish? That's on you. Then they're always like, there's a 108-year-old woman who survived. A 108-year-old woman. This is unbelievable. 108-year-old New Jersey woman. Yet a 25-year-old can't go to a bar. This really makes sense. Eight-year-old New Jersey woman who lived through Spanish flu survives this. Unbelievable. Thank God. God bless this woman. Look, they've taken a serious issue where people do lose their lives every single year. The flu is a serious issue. Messes with your immune system. Sometimes it's too much for tens of thousands of people every year. This is a serious issue. But what they've done is they've politicized it, hoping that at the end of the day, people will blame Trump for all of this. And it's like, they had a chance to actually win. I was saying that Clinton was going to possibly win, like 30% chance. They've lost that. The longer that they continue with this nonsense, and ladies and gentlemen, there could be another Spanish flu, and we won't be able to shut down the economy ever again. This is a case study, ladies and gentlemen. This is a case study in inept, irresponsible political nonsense. They will never again, ladies and gentlemen, be able to do this because we won't have the money to. We'll have a serious problem with inflation. If we just tank the economy and spend trillions to try to then the Democrats are like, "Wait, you don't want to help people?" And it's like, let them work. Let them work and spontaneously combust. 56,000 Americans lost their lives under President Obama. 116,000 Americans lost their lives under President Eisenhower in 1957. In 1967, under LBJ, over 100,000 lost their lives from the flu. 80,000 lost their lives last year from the flu. So it's like, I never imagined this is really going to actually hurt. This is going to hurt Democrats, and they don't see it too. They don't realize they don't understand. They don't understand why. It's 1930. RCJ, thank you. They're going to lose in a spectacular manner in November. It might be close. It might be not so close, but it'll be spectacular. Because when they lose again, oh my God, that might be the day to go on social media, but probably not. Actually, don't go on social media that day. It will be like, do you understand? There are people, I know people, good people, who obsess. And when I'm talking about obsess, I'm talking about there are people who obsess over Trump. Like every day, every single day, all they do is think of Trump. Like, why would you don't like Trump, but you think of him every second of the day? Every second of the day you think of him, but you don't like him? How does that work? How on earth does that work? Every single second of the day you think of him. Every single second of the day you're obsessed over everything he says. And then you say, well, he didn't help the country in January when you were trying to impeach him, as if you would have listened to Trump. The second Trump said, if Trump were to say anything, if Trump would have said anything like, oh, wear masks, Tyler, thank you, Tyler, for always watching, thank you. If Trump were to say get masks, ventilator, they would have said, no, we don't need it, They don't need it. We don't need it. You know the thing. Do-re-mi music, Honolulu. In Honolulu, the first day of lockdown up to today, old people walking around all day. Some pushing their walkers, most no masks. Go old folks. Yeah. Do-re-mi music. I love there are a couple of videos on you. Oh my God, there's a couple of videos. This one woman's like, wear your mask to people on the beach. It's really funny. Then there's they have these gigantic inner tubes that people are like floating around with at this restaurant in Maryland. Kind of funny. It's so hilarious. Do-re-mi music. Thank you, Honolulu. Thank you. Yeah, the old people are like, whatever. Sparky! Is it true that the average CV19 is older than the average life expectancy? I'm not sure about that, Sparky. Arya, you've seen those videos? It's hilarious. It's like who you're gonna listen to some lunatic yelling at you? What are you doing? They make us wear the best are the hats with the styrofoam. The styrofoam hats that kick out like this. Oh my God, I gotta wear one for my live streams. Oh, that's the best. I'll be like, ladies and gentlemen, keep away from me. Don't cough and you'll be downwind. Somebody said you'll be downwind from the cough. Like it's like, the vomit scene from Exorcist. Sparky, thank you. Thank you, Sparky. Aussie J. Pool noodle hat, yes. Renee, yes. The pool noodle hat. Oh my God, I think I need to make one. Oh my God, I think I can make one. Oh my God. Yes. It's so great. Oh my God. The pool noodle hat. What is wrong with people? You're missing Sparky. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I'm not going to give the audio because then there's always problems. So I'll just laugh at it. Well, hold on. Hold on. Outrage. Family drives 90 minutes to the beach, then complains it's packed. Oh my God. I don't know. I'm sorry. People want to live yet. It isn't the mass offing. The Democrats' wonderful new policy coming up next year. The one way to prevent from illness? Mass offing. Just trying to help. One lady opened up her I actually like what she's doing. She has to breathe. That's so great. Where is that? They're so great. Even the left is getting in on this. Like, what? This is so funny. This is so funny. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, let's see. You look at people that they're so eager to give up every aspect of their life. They're gleeful, they're happy because in the back of their minds, they truly believe that this will hurt Trump. So they're like, "Oh yeah." Man dressed as Grim Reaper warns beachgoer. I'm going to dress as the Grim Reaper and be like, "Huh? You want some of this, baby?" This guy is looking around. He follows people with the sickle. Oh, this is great. Oh, wow. This is so awesome. America has become a joke to the rest of the world. This is only going to hurt the Democratic Party. They don't realize this, but, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Sparky! You don't share the same host. So many, if not most, of the victims. The flu is a serious issue. Absolutely. Sparky, you're 100% right. The flu is a serious issue, and it's not to be taken lightly. That's why if you are at risk, then you take care of yourself and you don't leave the house. If you're not at risk, then, live your life. But you can't live your life, can you? Son. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. Get some rest, everybody. I am. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. God bless.